Hello, and welcome back to our weekly astrology podcast where we light our candles, grab our blankets. Today, we've even got some tea with us. We get cozy and we talk all things cosmos. I am your host, astrologer and coach, Sarah Posh, and today brings us to our full moon horoscope and tarot card reading for every single rising sign because we love you. Yes. First, we're going to talk breakdown just of the general significations for everybody for the Gemini full moon. And you're going to want to take that into consideration, all those details, when you go into your rising sign horoscope. And then we're going to go through each rising sign, starting with Aries. You can see time down below where your rising sign is. Maybe you even want to listen to your sun sign or your moon sign. You can listen to all the signs. If you haven't already, it helps the channel so much. Please like this video. You can subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on too. That way you're never going to miss a new episode when it comes out. And of course, if any of this resonates, or maybe you know somebody with a heavy mutable signature that could use some guidance or maybe some hope or validation for what they might be experiencing with this full moon, go ahead, share it, do the Gemini thing, spread the tea, the Gemini full moon tea. I can't believe that we're already to the Gemini full moon, which means that we have one more new moon cycle and then we're done with 2025. This is crazy, you guys. How are you feeling coming towards the end of this year? Coming towards the end of our grand water trines. We're going to talk about Mercury's final draft this week of the full moon. And also that means that 2026 is right around the corner. 2026 astrology is dramatic. It is so dramatic. There's so much going on, and I'm not here to give you any astro anxiety about 2026. No, babe, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to worry. All you have to do is register for our live 2-day event. It's going to cover all of the main themes month to month of the astrology of 2026. And we also have that digital companion workbook that's going to go along with our presentation. And that workbook is going to have a list of all of the transits, every single transit for 2026, as well as actual techniques, tools, practices, ritual suggestions that you can take with you throughout 2026. So don't waste your time wobbling in that worry or getting stuck in any kind of astro anxiety. You have resources. Register for the event. And of course, if you can't make the event live, it's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be recorded. So you'll get all the materials no matter what, if you're registered, able to attend or not. That will be linked for you below this episode. So make sure to check that out after listening to your rising sign horoscope. With that, let's go ahead. Let's jump in to this Gemini full moon and this week's astrology. Just a little tea before we spill the tea. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about, which is perfect for a Gemini full moon. So let's start with the Gemini full moon on Monday, December 4th. As you can see in this chart, that moon is happening at 13 degrees of Gemini. What's significant about this degree is if you listen to last week's episode, I talked about the nodal bending, this place of activation, the midpoint between the North Node and South Node axis. Mars hit that, activated it the previous Monday, and now this full moon, it's on this axis of the nodal bending, which tells us that we're hitting another critical turning point at the time of this Gemini full moon. The things that are being illuminated, the clarity that's peaking, and the decisions that we're needing to make at this pivot point, they're implicated in the bigger eclipse cycle that's been unfolding in the signs of Pisces and Virgo. We'll get more of those to come in 2026. So just take note that anything that's coming up at the time of the Gemini full moon is implicated. It is connected to those bigger cycles, those major beginnings and the major endings that have been playing out and will continue to play out in the eclipse cycle. And then of course, we have to talk about Mercury because Mercury is the ruler of this Gemini full moon. And Mercury just finished. It just completed its retrograde cycle, stationing direct at 20 degrees of Scorpio on Saturday, November 29th. So Mercury is rising in the morning sky with renewed clarity and a readiness to enter into the final draft of these grand water trines with a little more asking power, with a little more decision power. And also don't forget, this lunar cycle started with that Scorpio new moon that was exactly conjunct that Mercury retrograde. It was the Mercury Cazimi new moon, which I gotta tell you, felt almost like a full moon. That energy was electric. Did anybody else have trouble sleeping during that Scorpio new moon? So if we fast forward to this full moon in Gemini ruled by Mercury, it's giving big announcement, big ask, big decisions. So pay attention. What's coming up right now? Do you feel like there's a new clarity, an announcement, or a decision? Were there some sort of revisions or reviews, especially in Scorpio season, I know that for me, there was a lot of inner work, inner shadow work. Mercury retrograde was so deep and so rich. It was more of this deep remembering, and it honestly was a kind of tough wake-up call, but very, very helpful. Did you feel a wake-up call? Did it feel helpful? Is it registering as helpful as we get to the Gemini full moon? And what is it that you're ready to put a stamp on a decision? What is it that you're ready to say out loud, to ask, to sign the dotted line? Drop a comment below and let us know how this Mercury retrograde felt for you. And do you feel excited or just kind of over it for Mercury's final round to the ground water trines? I want to hear from you guys. I want to know if I'm not alone in all of that deep shadow work that Mercury took me through. Hopefully that Mercury retrograde left you with an unwavering clarity, this like fierce, no bullshit awareness of what's essential, of what it is that you need to address, whether that's inside or outside. The non-negotiables, our clear boundaries and our clear desires, like our clear feelings and needs. While yes, Gemini loves to have fun, loves to play around and play some tricks on us, the truth is that this Gemini full moon, it's not fucking around. We are going to need to be very, very clear, and I'm going to use this example in all of our rising sign horoscopes, measuring our decisions, measuring our priorities and our commitments with that table of what is most urgent and important. Have you ever heard of the urgent and important quadrant matrix? It's a quadrant, and there's 4 spaces, each one filled with urgent, important, not urgent, not important. It helps us categorize and prioritize what it is that we need to focus on, what it is that we need to invest our time, our energy, and our commitments onto. So that way we don't waste time on things that are maybe important, but they're not urgent, where we're able to discern out of those things that are urgent, which ones are actually important. This gives us a step-by-step awareness of where to start and also where to stop. And this week, we're gonna need that data. We're gonna need that discernment. At the time of this full moon, Mars is in an applying square to Saturn in Pisces. When Mars and Saturn come into a square, this is a big stop sign energy. This can lead to a lot of feelings of frustration, of delays, things taking longer or needing to take a step back, maybe a few steps back before we're really given that green light to actually move forward and go ahead. And while this isn't typically something that us humans subjectively enjoy experiencing, being slowed down, being stopped, not my style. But the truth is that this is here, this is like a divine delay. And these are the moments when knowing astrology can actually be really helpful. We know this is coming. We know that we're not going to be able to do all the things. We're going to have to be selective. So this full moon happening leading up to that Mars square Saturn, it feels like this really helpful climax of clarity where we get to see and decide the things that we're going to put our focus into. In addition to the urgent and important quadrant matrix, the other thing to consider with the Mars square Saturn is the idea of resistance. And I pulled a card from the Queen of the Moon Oracle, and it was the resistance card. And there was this really cool explanation and differentiation between overt resistance and covert resistance. Overt resistance is when something is getting stopped physically. We are not able to go. Maybe it's a job that we keep applying for, or we're trying to get a job in a certain field. Maybe we keep asking the same person out and keep getting shut down. That's overt resistance. But covert resistance, which is so Scorpio good after this Mercury retrograde, this is about the resistance from the inside. This is when we say there's something that we want to do, we feel a clarity about it, and yet we aren't enacting our will in alignment with that decision or that clarity. So that's overt resistance. This shows up as procrastination. This is that moment when you're about to actually take the action and all of a sudden it feels so overwhelming, or every single voice in your brain has every justification why it's not a good idea to do it or why you can't do it. This is resistance. The Saturn self-doubt is resistance. So this Gemini full moon, it's shining this climax of clarity, this light, not only on discerning what's urgent and important, but also giving us a context clue for that covert resistance, how it might show up, and maybe even how we could strategize, plan ahead a little bit, so that when Mars squares Saturn and we hear those voices, the self-doubt, the procrastination, we see the pattern, we see the signs and the symptoms of some internal hidden resistance, we have a strategy to move through it. We overcome the inner obstacles. We forge a stronger relationship with our Mars-Saturn dynamics, with our malefics. By the way, don't forget there's an All About Malefics episode on the channel. Have you listened to it yet? This would be a really good week to definitely check that out if you haven't already. We want to be in right relationship with Mars and Saturn for sure. But back to this Mars-Saturn that's playing into our Gemini full moon week, I want you to consider when you get to the stop sign on Monday, ask yourself, am I in a position where Saturn and Mars are asking me to put something down because it's not urgent and it's not important? I need to really prioritize. Or are you being asked to overcome that barrier inside? Are you being asked to forge a deeper fire of willpower, a deeper resiliency and endurance to pass the test of pushing and overcoming that inner resistance? These Mars-Saturn square transits, they're not fun tests, but they can be truly rewarding. Remember, Saturn is the planet that rewards choice. So make that choice. Make your choices. Make clear choices. Take clear action and know that you're the one who's going to benefit or not benefit from answering that call, doing the hard, honest work. And then the final layer of this Gemini full moon chart that I want to talk about is this idea and this need to clarify the difference between doing what's necessary versus doing what sounds fun or what we want to do. There's a secret aspect that's happening in this chart that's playing into what I'm talking about. And that is Venus in Sagittarius is making what's called a Contra Antiscia with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. And a Contra Antiscia in astrology is a secret or hidden relationship. It has the nature of Saturn, the nature of an opposition, with planets that are in parallel relationship with the equinox points. So in the sign of Cancer at 25 degrees, if we go from the point of the equinox, the exact distance ahead, and the equal light, the equal dark, will be at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. So this full moon has a secret opposition between Venus in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Cancer. These are the benefics. These are the planets that are here to bring good and feel good. And when they come into a hard aspect, like a square or an opposition, that can sometimes tell us that there's a tendency to go too far. It can be like overindulging on a buffet just because there's all this food available. Do we know how to stop when we're full? Or do we push ourselves past our limit because we just can't say no and we make ourselves sick? It can be like, oh, I'm just going to put it on the credit card. It's fine. I'll make the money later. There's potential for a little bit of delulu when it comes to a Jupiter-Venus opposition. This could also mean that it's kind of giving Seven of Cups energy, something presented as super good, super sweet. This is telling us that there might be some sort of hidden temptation playing in to the clarity that we're coming to, or the decisions that this Gemini full moon is bringing full circle, giving us this pivot point of how we're going to move forward, the strategies, the priorities, the commitments. We need to have our extra set of self-awareness antennas up, because what might seem like a small choice to choose fun over necessity right now, it's going to have long-term implications. This is not a time to fuck around and find out. This needs us to grow up and show up. This needs us to choose maturity over desire. Remember when I talked about the astrology of 2026? Remember that this is the final grand water trine before we go into that dramatic year ahead? This decision now, this is going to matter into that future. So take your decision seriously, take your commitment seriously, and holding back a little bit now, getting a little bit more strict with your budget, or maybe letting yourself just have the FOMO and miss out. It could mean that you don't have to miss out for the long term. It could mean that you set yourself up so that when you get to the future, you don't have to be on that budget, babe, by making that hard, uncomfortable, undesirable choice in the moment. All right, so that concludes our general overview for that Gemini full moon. Now it's time to break down what this astrology means for you and your chart, getting into our rising sign horoscopes and tarot card reading. Don't forget to check out that link below for our 2026 astrology event, Frontlines and New Frontiers, and that companion workbook that we're making custom just for you to take with you. It's a good investment, I promise. This is not a sneaky Venus-Jupiter Contra Antiscia. This is a high value return on your investment. All right, with that, let's jump in. Aries, you know you're up first, babe. Let's go. All right, Aries. So this Gemini full moon is happening in your third house. It's bringing a moment of clarity, of truth, of insight, maybe through a text, maybe through an email or a random conversation. There's something that's coming through that helps you click something into place, getting clarity around maybe some repeating patterns with communication that have been coming up. Maybe there's an insight, a moment of an aha of why you think the way you think. And this critical turning point at the Gemini full moon of clarity around your decisions, your commitments, maybe involving the themes of third house related to daily rhythms and rituals. It could also have to do with your siblings, peer relationships, or friends that feel like family, and anything related to matters of your neighborhood or local communities. And this clarity for you, it's coming from Mercury in the eighth house, where you've been connecting the dots around what's been influencing these big decisions related to eighth house matters of intimacy, shared resources, collaborations, big fears, big emotional truths, and your potential vulnerability, power dynamics, and any kind of contracts or agreements that you come into in your collaborations with other people. You're getting the chance to write this third and final draft of Mercury in the Grand Water Trines, asking you to level up when it comes to being vulnerable, when it comes to honoring your emotions and your internal landscapes. And through anchoring deeper into your emotional maturity and intelligence, you're going to get the chance to activate this new financial risk that has a long-term potential ROI when Mercury opposes Uranus and Taurus in your second house. And you're being asked to take into consideration what is most urgent and important, or what covert resistance needs to be addressed and overcome related to your long-term plans, your beliefs about the future, and what you desire to move towards. You need to slow down on big decisions, on long-term plans, and align your actions with a deeper connection to your intuition. And then finally, this week for the full moon, Neptune is going to be stationing direct in Pisces for the final time in your 12th house, and something dissolves in your unconscious. There's finally a long-standing fog related to potentially those self-sabotaging, self-undoing behaviors or patterns, maybe some closure themes. You'll start noticing and feeling this long-standing spiritual fog finally clearing and a strengthening in your intuition. That's your horoscope for this Gemini full moon. Aries, it's time to go ahead and pull your tarot card. So Aries, I'm curious, how are you feeling? What are you thinking? And what is this Gemini full moon begging you to go bigger when it comes to your thinking, or to get more real about how you're thinking? Comment below. I want to hear from my Aries rising, because we know that sometimes you like to act before you think. You like to ask for forgiveness instead of asking for permission. Maybe this Gemini full moon, it's implementing a more helpful and supportive strategy for the way you go about communicating those things, or the way you go about taking action, what you do first and maybe what you don't do. All right, Aries, your card for the Gemini full moon is the Queen of Swords. This is so good for this Gemini full moon. She is all about making those emotionally mature decisions. The Queen of Swords is the fierce goddess of truth. She has come to a place where she's making decisions for the good of all. So there's something, Aries, that you're being asked to sit on that throne and to make some tough decisions, but to do so from your heart, not from an emotional place. You've got to cut with a sword all of the emotional baggage out of the picture. You've got to put down that Venus-Jupiter secret Contra Antiscia momentary or temporary temptation, desire, feeling. Right now, it's about being intellectual, it's about being logical, but it's about doing so with other people in mind. There's still a relational component here. There's still a need to consider the needs or the feelings of the group, of the whole, or of the partnership. So Aries, what big decision are you making? And who's keeping you accountable? Who do you care about enough to make sure that you make the right decision for your best shared interest in mind? Comment below. Tell me if you're feeling this decision power. Tell me if you're feeling this clarity around what emotional baggage or desires, the temptations were maybe getting in your way. I need to hear from my Aries. Also, don't forget, Aries, check out that link below for the 2026 astrology event, Faultlines and New Frontiers. You won't want to miss out on this incredible event that's going to be recorded. So even if you can't make it live, you still get to join us in spirit whenever you decide to watch it. All right, Aries, that's your reading and your horoscope for this Gemini full moon. Let's go ahead and get into Taurus and Taurus rising. All right, Taurus. So this Gemini full moon, it is shining this bright light of clarity on the big decisions that might be coming up surrounding matters of the second house. So for you, Taurus, this has to do with matters of income, of livelihood, your sense of stability and security, also your self-worth, what you value and how you value yourself, or stand up and advocate for your value. How does your relationship to material security relate and connect and reflect your relationship to your internal sense of self-worth and self-value? And Taurus, you might be getting this insight. There might be a revelation that comes from Mercury in Scorpio in your 7th house of relationships, of partnerships, of open enemies or competitors. You've been connecting the dots here since that Mercury retrograde, and now you see clearly how it's all connected. And there's some sort of emotional truth that's ready to come out, and it's going to impact those big decisions related to your 2nd house. And then you get the chance to write this 3rd and final draft of Mercury activating those grand water trines in your relationship houses. You're being asked to level up what you ask for and who you ask it from. Remember that Uranus and Taurus, it's in your 1st house. So what is it that you can take a risk on putting yourself out there in a bigger way or a different way? Mars-Saturn is asking you to define what's urgent and important and matters related to your 8th and 11th houses. You need to address or maybe overcome some sort of stopping point that's coming up, some sort of block around how seriously you take your 11th house hopes, goals, visions for the future. What is it that you really, really want? And how are your 8th house shared resources, contracts, or collaborations with others needing to be up-leveled in their standard of agreement? There's a clarity coming, and it's telling you how to renegotiate, re-strategize, and reprioritize so that you can refine and elevate the standard of who you share your energy and resources with. And Taurus, you are going to finally see that 13-year fog of Neptune and Pisces in your 11th house start to lift at the end of this week. That means that your clarity around friendships and belonging lifts, and you see clearly who aligns and who does not. Taurus, that's your horoscope for the Gemini full moon. I'd love to hear, before we pull your card, comment below what's been coming up and what are you most excited about putting into the final draft of Mercury's grand water trine this week. This is the 3rd time, this is the final time, and babe, this is happening across your relationship access. So where are you ready to maybe go a little bit bigger and ask somebody that you were scared to ask before? Ask and receive the help that you actually, truly want and need. All right, Taurus, I want to hear. Comment below. Let's pull your card. Taurus, 2 cards came out for you today. We've got the Hermit upright, and then we've got the King of Pentacles reversed. Wow, could this be any more perfect for the Gemini full moon? This is so clear. And I love this reading because this King of Pentacles reversed, this is speaking to me about how this clarity that you're getting at this full moon, especially after that Mercury retrograde, your 2nd house is deeply impacted by the people that you say yes to. You can no longer deny that every decision you make, the big decisions and the small decisions, they're either adding to your sense of security and value and worth, or they're eroding from it. And it's time to prioritize and put the King of Pentacles upright. Put yourself back on the throne of owning your worth. And the way that you do that, it's with the Hermit. This card is the card of inner knowing, of intuition, of wisdom. This is connecting to the higher self. This is tuning out the voice of external noise or pressure, or maybe the feelings and needs of other people in that 7th house. All those things you've been working out, all the people that you feel responsible for, or you've been undervaluing yourself in those collaborations or negotiations. There's a wisdom in you during this Gemini full moon that's finally coming fully online, and you're ready to lead by example, to trust your inner knowing, and to take a risk on taking your power back and turning that King of Pentacles back upright. Taurus, I want to hear from you. Comment below. Did this reading resonate for you? And also, what are these big decisions, or what breakups and shakeups are happening for you in your life? Are you putting down some sort of temptation to think that you can take care of everybody else at the expense of yourself? I need to hear from my Taurus. Comment below. And also, Taurus, don't forget, check out that link below for that 2026 live astrology event with myself and Alexandra Blair, Whitney Crayons on December 11th, Faultlines and New Frontiers. It's all linked below for you. You can check it out and sign up now. All right, that brings us to our next sign, Gemini and Gemini rising. All right, Gemini, this full moon, it's your full moon, baby. It's happening in your first house. It's shining this bright light of clarity, this illumination on yourself, your personal sense of identity, what's truly authentic, and also your sense of direction, what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So Gemini, your identity, your desires, your voice, they're being sharpened under this Gemini full moon. And you're ready to make some of these big decisions because of that Mercury retrograde connecting those dots for you in that 6th house of health and daily work, daily efforts, daily grind. You've been going through this process of uncovering what's been holding you back in terms of your obligations, of the shit you have to do every single day. In this revelation of self, it's getting insights from your body. That's right, Mercury just stationed direct in your 6th house. And you're getting the connection of all of the dots that's coming from your daily routines, your habits, your day-to-day work. Maybe your coworkers, maybe you have a coworker that drops a truth bomb on you. Make sure, Gemini, that you're listening to your body. You're tuning into and putting down, cutting the cord of the places, of the people, of the obligations where you do not need to be putting in that emotional labor of your 6th house. You get the chance to write this final draft of Mercury and the Grand Water Trines related to your work and resources. So you're being asked to apply all the healing that's been happening with these Grand Water Trines related to your work, your career, your vocation, and your sense of livelihood. And this is going to give you an even stronger sense of purpose and direction at the time of this Gemini full moon. And Gemini, you need to be really clear and cautious around acknowledging what is urgent and important, or naming and navigating through those covert inner obstacles or covert resistance related to matters of your 7th and 10th house. So Gemini, before you push forward in anything having to do with career or any people that you're committed to and in relationship with, you need to make sure that it's actually in alignment for the things that are most important for you for the long term. This is saying you should not commit to everybody, and make sure to not rush past as you make these big decisions, how the relationships that you say yes to and the commitments that you're making for the long term related to your career need you to clarify and commit to what's actually worth it. And Gemini, you are going to be feeling the fog finally lifting, this 13-year fog of Neptune and Pisces in your 10th house of career and public image. So there's something about your identity in career or in leadership that's ready to become more clear. If you've been feeling that Neptune confusion or disillusion or sense of groundlessness when it comes to your career path, now you're going to start seeing the clarity. You're going to start feeling the ground beneath your feet and a readiness to know and to go and a clear direction as we go forward. All right, Gemini, so that is your horoscope reading today. We're going to go ahead and pull your card. All right, Gemini, your card is the Emperor upright. Love this for you on a 1st house full moon. Hell yeah, babe. This is the Aries card. This is taking your power back. This is that divine masculine energy, the part of us that has something that we want and we have the willpower to do it, to go after it. So you're coming into some major decision power. But it's not just making the mental decision. This Gemini full moon, it's giving you this deeper activation of aligning your actions with your decisions. This makes me think of that 6th house that we talked about with the Mercury connecting the threads and connecting the dots with that recent retrograde. Maybe there's something you've realized that you were taking action on that actually wasn't serving you. It wasn't actually in agreement with the big goals or with the authentic part of you and the direction that you're going in this life. Maybe you've put those down. Maybe you've stopped playing small by over giving when it comes to those 6th house matters. Gemini, I want to hear from you. Where are you taking your power back? Where are you making these big decisions, but not just making decisions? You're taking some big actions aligned with those decisions. And that can also mean you're coming into this new power of knowing when not to take an action or when to put an action down because it's not aligned. What are we feeling, Geminis? I want to hear from you. Did this reading resonate? Comment below. I'd love to hear. And don't forget to check out that link for the Faultlines and New Frontiers, our 2026 astrology live event, and the digital companion workbook, all of that. Don't forget, we've got you, babe. Check it out, linked below. It's a live event. So if you come, Gemini, you could be in the chat. It could be really fun to have our little Geminis there. We'd love that. And of course, don't forget, we've got our Alexandra Blair, our Gemini host with the most, that's going to be there holding down our Gemini fort. Gemini, I'm hoping not only to hear from you in the comments, but I want to see you, babe. Show us what you got. All right, that takes us into Cancer and Cancer rising. This Gemini full moon, it's shining this bright light. It's bringing this big moment of clarity and matters of your 12th house, your blind spot, your patterns of self-undoing or hidden enemies. A light goes on and you see in the dark. After seeing this clarity, you're going to be ready to make those big decisions because you're going to be able to clear all of the baggage that was hidden in the blind spots, that was hidden in the dark unconscious. Now, not only do you see, now you know what to do or not do, what to agree to or not to agree to. And Cancer, this insight, it might be coming through some sort of fifth house matter related to creativity. Maybe it's through a creative process that you have an emotional breakthrough. You have a sudden self-reflective or self-awareness breakthrough, seeing something in a new light, processing it in a fuller or new way. Mercury has been connecting the dots, threading together this clarity in your fifth house and the place of our chart that has to do with our desire, our creative, authentic self-expression, our fun, and our pleasure. So be sure to put yourself in a place that opens your heart so that you can see as clearly as possible on the Gemini full moon. And then you're taking this clarity into some big decisions for Mercury's third and final draft of the Grand Water Trines and matters of your purpose, your calling, and your life direction. You get a final chance to shake something up or to take a risk when it comes to believing in yourself, believing in your big hopes or your visions, your desires for the future with Uranus in that 11th house. This is the chance to put yourself out there, put yourself into conversation and community with new people, new friends, new benefactors and allies. And you're going to have to go through that Mars-Saturn gauntlet of identifying what's urgent and important, of choosing what is necessary over what you want when it comes to matters of your 6th and 9th house. That means that if you have a big dream, if that 9th house has a big long-term plan, there's a long-term commitment or journey that you're saying yes to, the calling that you're saying yes to answering, that means you have to show up differently in your day-to-day, in your 6th house, everyday obligations and effort. So what habits, what routines, what are you being asked to either release or to double down and commit more, have a more disciplined, clear, and consistent relationship with those day-to-day 6th house matters. It also might mean, Cancer, that you need to address some covert resistance related to a part of you that might be saying, it'll be so hard, I can't do it. Mars in the 6th house, this is Mars joy. And Mars needs you to tap into the part of you that's going to take joy in overcoming any self-doubt that says you don't have what it takes to make something happen one small choice consistently over time. Again and again and again. You have the power, you can make the choice, and you can take the action one small step at a time. In Cancer, you are finally going to be feeling that fog lifting with Neptune stationing direct in Pisces in your 9th house. It's been a decade-long time of Neptune in this place. And actually, I think Neptune kind of has a natural symbiotic or synergistic relationship to the 9th house because it has to do with our beliefs, our spirituality, our connection to something greater than ourselves, a connection to something that helps us hold a greater perspective or to see things from a higher, broader vantage point. And right now, as Neptune stations direct, there might be a final full circle moment, a clear intuitive insight related to your life purpose and your calling and your direction. So pay attention and make sure to anchor and to invest in what has the most meaning for you. All right, Cancer, that's your horoscope. How we feeling, Cancers? How are you doing at the time of this Gemini full moon? I gotta be honest, a full moon in the 12th house, been there, done that, not fun, not the most fun. But I will say it can be some of the most rewarding effort to take the pause and to have the humility to confront what's been hiding in the dark. Remember, we can't change what we can't see. So, Cancers, what are you finally ready to see? You need to see it, babe, because you got some big decisions to make and you got some big things to create and to do. We need to see more of you, Cancer. We got that Jupiter playing out in your first house all the way through summer 2026. And this is your moment to clear finally any leftover baggage so that you can make the most of it and get out of your own way. All right, let's go ahead and get to your card reading. Cancer, I swear to Goddess, you guys are killing me. Every time I do the horoscope episode, I am so aware that Jupiter is in your first house, giving you the hopes to help the most because damn, Cancer rising, so many cards want to come out. So much help and guidance wants to come through. I limited it to the 3 that jumped out to me in the disarray of what came through. So Cancer rising, we have the Page of Cups reversed. We have the Queen of Wands upright. And then we have the Death card. And this is one of the best cards in tarot. Why? Because death, endings, they are what precede. They are the harbingers for transformation and true change and new beginnings. You're ready to bring something to a close. And bringing this to a close, bringing it to an end, it has to do with some of this Page of Cups reversed. What is it that you've been maybe limited or inhibited or holding yourself back when it comes to stepping into your creative power? The Queen of Wands has incredible strength of heart, strength of spirit, and incredible creativity and inspiration. She's very intuitive and she's also very inspiring. People want to follow her light. She's a leader of the light, but kind of feels like that Queen of Wands has been a little bit distracted by a Page of Cups reversed. So this could be somebody else that you've been tolerating or entertaining that has some sort of emotional immaturity. Actually, what's coming through, Cancer, is you've been playing a game of matching some sort of emotional immaturity that somebody else is bringing to the table. There's something unconsciously that baits you into draining your power by getting stuck in these immature emotional states. This could also be Page of Cups reversed, that there's something about not fully committing. This is making me think that Mars in the 6th house. So you can't be flimsy on your goals. You can't be flipsy flopsy floozy, maybe later, maybe no, babe. You got to show up if you really want to receive the glow up of these grand water trines. Cancer, it's time to either stop hanging out or stop engaging with emotional immature people or emotionally immature patterns that are keeping you stuck, that are presented as that either covert or maybe overt resistance to following through on bringing your dreams into reality, to stepping more into your creative power. Own your power. Have that internal resilience, that strength of heart to sit at your throne, know who you are, own it, and take action on it. It's a fire queen. She takes action. And that means you have to let something go, or you have to find a way to bring closure for yourself on the inside of something that's still holding on to you, or you're still holding on to it. We know that our Cancers, we can have some resentments. We can have some archives of the resentments, Cancers, but this is not serving you. This is really not. I mean, you can just, delete the story, uncreate the part of you that feels like it's protecting yourself to hold on to that receipt. It's not, Cancer. It's holding you back. Drop the receipt, step into your power, and start following through in action on the things that you're really being called to do, to create, or to say yes to. So Cancer, that's your reading. I need to hear from you. What resonates from that reading? What are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? And don't forget to check out that link below for the Faultlines and New Frontiers 2026 Astrology live event with Alexandra Blair and Whitney Kranz. We're going to be doing that live on 2 different days in December. Make sure that you don't miss out on the fun and also all the really helpful information about that dramatic astrology of 2026. All right, Cancer, that is your reading. That is your horoscope. That brings us into our next sign, Leo and Leo rising. All right, Leo and Leo rising. This Gemini full moon, it's shining this bright light of clarity, illuminating where you're making big decisions or what's influencing your big decisions around matters related to your 11th house. So there's some sort of revelation about the future. It has to do with your friendships, your allies, maybe some benefactors. Leo, you're seeing dreams that are being illuminated, and you're getting the chance to see what truly aligns. You're getting ready to say, hell yes, or maybe hell no. And you've been connecting the dots, doing some deep inner work related to Mercury retrograde in your 4th house. This is the deep space of internal emotional security, also our home base, our family, our foundations. And there's some sort of work that you've been doing, some sort of digging or revelation that's happened that's connecting the dots, coming full circle, and helping you make these big decisions about your collaborations, your goals, or your big communities. Now you're ready to shape those decisions and commitments with a little bit more internal, not just security and stability, but a depth of self-trust. And right after this full moon, you get to take all this clarity into some big and final decisions when it comes to Mercury entering its 3rd and final draft of the grand water trines. There might be an opportunity for you to finally take that risk in matters of your career and your vocation. It's like your reservoirs of resiliency, of emotional strength and vulnerability. They're all helping to support you, uplift you, and help inspire you to catch and create the next big wave of opportunity, of change, and chance to take a risk and say yes when it comes to your career path and changes there. And Leo, you are getting this square from Mars and Saturn in your 5th and 8th house. That means that you need to slow down, maybe come to a full stop, and reconsider, really reprioritize what is most urgent, most important, or likely having to do with the 5th, 8th house. We're probably talking a lot more about our covert internal resistance. And that baggage is probably related to any sort of unhealthy attachment. So, Leo rising, what is it that you need to confront? You need to do something that's necessary, something that's not necessarily fun. It might be hard, it might be uncomfortable, but you know that it's what you need to do in order to say yes to the standard that you're calling in when it comes to those 8th house matters of shared resources, collaborations, agreements. It's also giving you the chance to up-level your relationship to pleasure so that it's not this temptation, 7 of cards or devil card kind of energy. If we think of the tarot, this is a pleasure that actually is life-giving and sustaining. It's not draining from your energy. It's not draining from your big goals. It's not draining from the direction that you're trying to move towards. Rather, it's enhancing, it's fortifying, it's supporting it. So maybe for you, Leo rising, this has to do with putting something down, letting something go, saying no to where it's uncomfortable, because to go without means you might have to develop a new healthy coping mechanism or healthier relationship to the things that bring you pleasure, the people that you say yes to, and the exchanges that you agree to. And by the end of this Gemini full moon week, Neptune is finally going to station direct in your 8th house in Pisces for the final time. That means that over a decade-long transit is coming to a close. And if you've been feeling the fog, if there's been some disillusionment, confusion, maybe even some dissolving of the contracts or negotiations and agreements when it comes to getting into bed or getting into contract with other people, now clarity is going to start to return. You're going to start to know which instincts to trust and also which people to trust more. So pay attention to a subtle or maybe not so subtle sense of shift when it comes to the navigation of the messier parts of being human. And I want to hear from you, Leo. I know these grand water trines, they've been a little rough and tough on you, babe. I mean, you've got so much emotional processing that's been happening, but I want to remind you, Leo, that the more emotional processing, the more you attune and work through and process and heal and take that pause, take that time to really cleanse yourself, cleanse your heart, cleanse your space, the more you're going to be open and ready and so clear to light the match of where you go next, of the big things that are going to be coming when Jupiter comes into your sign in 2026, and all these water trines, they're going to become fire trines for you. They're going to be activating and inspiring and giving you the energy and the resources to start feeling like there is a possibility for some sense of momentum and inspiration. Comment below, Leo. Tell me how you're doing, where you're at, and let's go ahead. Let's pull your card. Okay, Leo, 2 cards came out for you. We've got the 5 of Wands upright, and then we've got the 9 of Swords upright. Wow. So Leo, this Gemini full moon, it's telling you that you're ready to make some big decisions, to really take yourself seriously. But the thing you need to do is address, definitely, babe, those forms of internal covert resistance. Where are you letting this self-doubt get the best of you? Where are you still fighting with yourself, or maybe even feeling this false sense of competition? You're getting baited into something that's draining your energy, and what it actually needs for you to do to overcome, to move through it, is to stop fighting the wrong fight. Stop defending your worth. Stop defending your faith in the future and your big goals. If somebody's keeping you up at night, or somebody's making you feel like they're in competition versus collaboration, it's time to cut them. It's time to make the decision, to take this critical turning point, to make the choice to walk away. Those are not your people. Those are not your people to collaborate with, to partner with, or to let keep you up at night. Whether it's overt, outside of yourself, relationships, people, disagreements, conflicts, or it's covert, it's internal, it's the self-doubt, it's keeping you up at night. It's time to put it to rest. It's time to finally say, I'm done. I'm done fighting. The way I prove that I believe in myself, the way that I win the battle against self-doubt, is to get out of the mental anguish, mental inner conflict, mental overthinking, or unnecessary, not necessary, unhelpful, competitive energy. I remember who I am. I remember what I bring to the table. There is no other Leo rising. There is no other you. Own that. Be true, be authentic to yourself, and trust that exactly who you are is enough. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to prove it. You can put it to rest. I want to hear from my Leo risings. Did this reading resonate for you? How are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? And also, Leos, don't forget, we've got that link below for the 2026 astrology event with myself, Alexandra Blair, and Whitney Kranz, where we're going to go through the full year major themes. And we got that digital custom workbook that's going to go through all of the astrology for the year ahead. So check it out. It's linked below. We have your back. You've got this, Leo. Don't forget, Jupiter's coming. It's coming into your first house. So use this final wave of the Mercury grand water trines to cut, release, delete, heal, cleanse. Let the doubts wash away, babe. We got you. All right, Leos, thank you so much. Let's go ahead into our next sign. That brings us to Virgo and Virgo rising. All right, Virgos, this Gemini full moon, it's shining this bright light of clarity. It's bringing a climax to major decisions and critical turning points related to matters of your 10th house of career, of public image, your work that you do in the world. So Virgo, what is it that Mercury has been helping you dig deeper, uncover, connect the dots in matters of your 3rd house? There's been some sort of rewiring, reprogramming, maybe around patterns of communication, maybe around just the way that you go through your day-to-day rhythm. What are your daily rhythms and rituals? Also, maybe some changes or new understandings have come to light regarding your siblings or peer relationships. This is definitely saying that you're ready to communicate what it is that you're feeling, thinking, needing in order to make these big decisions at the time of this full moon. And it's actually required. Hopefully you've done the inner work and cleared the baggage that's keeping you from saying the thing, asking the thing, talking about the thing. You can't get to the final conclusion or the final decision point that you need to get to if you don't go through the uncomfortable process of having the direct conversation. So put yourself out there, Virgos. I want to hear. Comment below. Is this resonating? And are you going to do it? I want to hear from you. And then Virgos, this is going to help you in your favorite part of every writing process, the 3rd and final draft, with Mercury entering into those grand water trines, activating those relationship houses. This is going to give you the chance to come into collaboration and partnership with the right people for the right purpose. And all of that is helping you find a clear direction for those long-term goals and upgrade your sense of self when it comes to your professional identity, when it comes to your vocation or what you're known for in the world. And you're being asked by Mars and Saturn to take a full stop or to slow down and make sure you check in. Is there something that we need to put down because it doesn't fit that category of urgent and important? Or is there some sort of covert resistance making itself known during this Gemini full moon that you need to actually move through? You need to overcome with aligned action related to matters of your 4th and 7th house. So Virgo, what lessons from Saturn when it comes to your emotional maturity and also the mature standard of partnership and committed partnership that you come into is asking you to have better discernment about the actions to take in order to create a solid home base, to create that deep sense of internal security that we need and that supports the thriving of everything else in our life in that 4th house. This square is asking you, please do not rush past this opportunity to more clearly define and deliberately invest your energy, your effort into the development of that healthy home base, that healthy sense of a root system in your life. And you're going to finally feel that Neptune fog lift at the time of this Gemini full moon when we have Neptune stationing direct in Pisces in your 7th house. Virgo, the last 10 years have been a little rough when it comes to your one-on-one relationships, whether that's romantic, business, maybe even client relationships. It's been confusing as hell. There's been some disillusionment, some confusion, some maybe rose-colored glasses that have been shattered on the floor again and again and washed away out to sea. This is finally ending. You're finally going to have this clarity come back, the ground beneath your feet, and the people that you partner with, you're going to be able to start seeing with a lot more truth and healthy, realistic discernment. All right, Virgos, are you most excited for Neptune stationing direct and getting the hell out of your 7th house? Or how are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? Comment below. Let's go ahead. Let's pull your card. All right, Virgos, 2 cards came out for you. We've got the 9 of Cups reversed and the Temperance card. So what's really interesting is that I didn't talk about that Venus-Jupiter Contra Antiscia in any of the rising sign horoscopes, but it's definitely coming up for you. This is so that energy. If you didn't already, go back and listen to the beginning of this episode where I talked about the general reading of this Gemini full moon. Because right now, there is this hidden opposition between Venus and Jupiter that's presenting some sort of temptation, some sort of false sense of good, or some sort of hidden influence that's keeping you out of balance. There's something with this Temperance card upright that maybe you're starting to see what keeps you from living in this state of receptivity, living in this state of satisfaction. The 9 of Cups, when it's upright, he is just resting with his arms crossed, sitting and enjoying, celebrating these 9 full cups above him. There's also a spiritual connection to this card because the cups are above him. So there's a connection to a higher sense of meaning, a higher sense of value and purpose. And when this is reversed, we're disconnected from something deeper, or we're disconnected from our ability to let ourselves receive. Maybe we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm just feeling like there's something where taking a moment to check in, this relationship with Jupiter in your 11th house of your goals, your big goals, and then Venus and Sagittarius in your 4th house, you need to take a moment and check. Do they actually match? Do they actually check out that your goals are aligned with your true deepest values, with your emotional needs? You're going to sustain your long-term goals so much more. You're going to feel a more genuine sense of satisfaction when you're checking in, you're check and balancing the budget of what you're saying yes to, what goals you're going to chase after, what people you're going to combine forces with that really match that deeper purpose and fulfillment. I want to hear from you, Virgos. How does this reading resonate? What are you feeling when you see these cards? I feel like with Virgos, I'm always tempted to err on the side of needing more rest and pleasure, probably than putting in more effort or time. So I'm just taking a wild guess out there, but I'm wondering, Virgos, Is there something coming up potentially that's asking you to chill the fuck out? Sit back, relax, let yourself receive, let yourself take a step back, put things back into balance when it comes to resting and receiving and the work and the effort that we can count on you to show up and give us. Comment below, let me know where my Virgos are at, and don't forget, Virgo, check out that link below this episode that has that 2026 live event with astrologers Alexandra Blair, Whitney Kranz, and we're going to go over all of that dramatic astrology coming just around the corner, just around the next lunar cycle. That's so crazy. So make sure, check the link below this episode. You can still register, and even if you can't attend that event live, we're going to have the event recorded for you to reference and resource at any point in the future that calls to you. All right, thank you so much, Virgos. That's your reading for today. Let's go ahead. Libra, it's your turn, and Libra rising. All right, Libras, this Gemini full moon, it's shining this bright light of clarity. It's putting a spotlight on some big decisions you're ready to make in relationship to your 9th house. This is a truth about your path, about your calling, about your long-term plans and your belief and your capacity to actualize those potentials. And Libra, this culmination of clarity that you're arriving to at this full moon, it's coming from the deep digging you've been doing in relationship to your 2nd house of livelihood, of income, of material security, and also your self-worth. How have you been connecting the dots since Mercury's retrograde between your own validation of your value, of your self-worth? How is that impacting your clarity in recognizing and claiming and deciding what it is that you really want when it comes to those long-term plans? And Libra, right after the full moon, with this clarity and all this work in your self-worth, you get to put it into action with Mercury going into the 3rd and final series, its final draft of the Grand Water Trines in your work houses. So now you get to catch this wave in matters of career and work and livelihood from a new vantage point, not only of your value and what you're worth, what you bring to the table, but also where you actually want to go, what your true north actually is when you're coming from that place of owning your worth and owning your value. And it's likely going to entail that final radical agreement or disagreement when it comes to negotiating your shared resources, your contracts, your collaborations with that Uranus in the 8th house. So you might shock some people, you might shock yourself in the way that you approach those negotiations or those agreements, but be willing to take that risk. Know that you're acting from the place of doing that deep work when it comes to Mercury in your 2nd house. And these Grand Water Trines, they want to uplift you, support you, and help you take off in the right direction for the right purpose. And don't forget about that pause moment we have. Remember, we've got Mars in Sagittarius in your 3rd house, squaring Saturn in Pisces in your 6th house the week of this full moon. So all these big decisions, all this clarity that's coming full circle at the Gemini full moon, you need to get really honest and clear before you punctuate any sort of agreement. You need to make sure that the way you spend your day, the obligations that you give your effort and time to every single day, the work you pour into, where you pour it in, what you pour it in, who you pour it in with or for, that it is truly urgent and important to the places that you really desire to go, that it is truly important to you, to these big decisions, to these shifts in your long-term plans. You need to also check in with yourself, Libra. Where might there be some covert resistance that you need to work through, you need to overcome? You need to take that aligned action through the resistance. Is there some sort of procrastination, some sort of task that you're putting off? It's still on your to-do list after all of this time. Saturn and Mars are telling you it's time to take care of your business. It's time to move through the procrastination and overcome any covert resistance in the form of self-doubt, maybe presented in the mask and disguise of procrastination, because the shortest, fastest route to your biggest dreams, it's actually in that first small step. And Libra, how can your daily routines more deeply reflect your belief in those big dreams? And by the end of the full moon week, Neptune is going to station retrograde, completing this decade-long transit in your 6th house of daily grind, daily habits, also your body, maybe body illness or dis-ease. There's likely been a lot of confusing symptoms or ailments that have been calling you into a more attuned relationship with your body Your body has definitely been the messenger, babe, for the last decade. Hopefully you have a lot of new intuitive gifts that you're taking out of this transit, being able to listen and feel for what it is that you need to be in flow in that sixth house. And now you're going to notice as Neptune's direct, a new clarity is coming, a new linear process and moving through your day-to-day, feeling the ground beneath your feet so that things become clear and maybe there's a reappearance of some standard efficiency. Comment below, Libra rising, what part of this horoscope is resonating? How are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? And how are you feeling going into the final wave of the Mercury Grand Water Trines in your work and livelihood houses? Do you feel a little bit more confident to own your value so that you can say yes to opportunities that truly align with you and that truly match what it is that you bring to the table? Comment below and fill me in, Libras. I need the tea. All right, let's go ahead and pull your card. All right, Libras, 4 cards jumped out for you. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that reading. We've got the 5 of Cups reversed. Then we've got the 7 of Pentacles upright. We've got the 2 of Wands upright. And the 3 of Wands reversed. So Libra, I love this reading for you because this tells me since the 5 of Cups is reversed, you're actually not stuck in this scarcity or emotional sense of lack or lack of self-worth anymore. You're not sitting there looking at the past. You're not wasting your time, your energy on the hurt or maybe even the lack of being valued in relationships or in work dynamics, work opportunities. You're looking forward. You see that there's 2 cups upright and you're more focused on that and what's working and where you're going than what's behind you. So I love that. And then the 7 of Pentacles upright. This is telling you that the investment, the hard work that you've been putting in, the devotion to whatever your craft is, whatever it is that you do in your work or the work that you bring to the world, that's paying off. Don't stop doing that. And it's reaching this point of readiness to take its next step of creative potential. The 2 of Wands upright, this says, I am firmly planted. This idea is alive. It's ready to materialize. And now I'm ready to take this idea and bring it out into the world. So maybe there's something you've been working on behind the scenes or you've been working on, but you haven't fully presented it to offer it to the world or to offer the service to your clients. And now you're getting ready. There's some sort of big reveal, big idea. It's ready to go into its next phase of development, its next phase of this Gemini full moon might be telling you what direction to take that or the timing or the decisions around making that idea real or taking it to the next level. But then we have that 3 of Wands reversed at the very end. So this is saying the Gemini full moon is showing you potentially around relationship or collaboration. Like there's still something left undone or there's still something left that needs to change, whether it's calling in another person or it's letting go of an old contract, an old collaboration. If this was upright, this would be like you not only have the vision, the idea, and the willpower to make it happen, you also have the resources, the connections, those collaborations and alliances to make it happen. Or Libra, if you're somebody who's stuck feeling like I can't move forward on the 2 of Wands, on just taking that first step until I know the next step after that, or I know where the alliances are going to come, or I know where the resources are going to come, you have to let that go and just get into action in that first step. The decision is this step. The decision is right now. It's saying yes. And to maybe give yourself some of that time. I mean, this is definitely a patience card. The 7 of Pentacles upright. Maybe there's a delay in a decision around contracting or going into some sort of collaboration with your idea with other people, but that doesn't mean you have to wait altogether. You can still do something. So what is that, Libra? What is that one thing you can do? And what is the thing that's not urgent? It's not important, that could be delayed until more clarity comes to light. I want to hear from my Libras. Comment below. Did that reading resonate? What are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? And also, Libras, don't forget to check out that link below for our 2026 live event for the dramatic astrology coming. We're going to have 3 amazing astrologers. I'm biased because I love them. Alexandra Blair, Whitney Kranz. It's going to be so fun. And even if you can't make it live, don't worry, babe. It's all recorded and we'll send everything for you to reference and resource at any future time of your choosing. So if you're interested in learning more or registering for that event, make sure you click that link below this episode. All right, thank you, Libras. Let's go ahead and get into our next sign, Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Scorpios. This Gemini full moon, it's shining this bright light of clarity. It's giving you permission to make some big decisions and revelations in the depths of your eighth house. This is emotional exposure. You're going to see with clarity and emotional honesty any patterns or entanglements when it comes to your collaborations, your contracts, your exchanges with others. And the digging that you've hopefully been doing with Mercury retrograde in your first house is going to help connect the dots. It's the clarity, the ownership, and the confidence that you're bringing into this full moon around you, around owning who you are, around owning what you need, taking care of yourself and the direction that you're going and your purpose, owning your truth, owning your power. This is what helps you see deeper the emotional truths about those eighth house entanglements that are unhealthy, but also the forms of intimacy that are healthy. But that means sometimes they bring out the more vulnerable feelings, Scorpio. And all of this clarity around owning your power, around owning your needs, and also being completely honest about what and who you say yes to in any sort of exchange. This is going to help you make the most of the final draft, the final series of Mercury entering into those grand water trines the days following this Gemini full moon. And remember, this wave, it's trying to lift you and carry you into a whole new potential of aligning yourself and your life with a true sense of purpose, of calling, and of personal joy and pleasure. And Scorpio, don't forget, you got to take that pause. You're going to have to take that step back, full stop at the stop sign when Mars in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces. This is where worth and creativity meet structure and discipline. Scorpio, you're being asked to get really honest and clear. What about your second house material security, your livelihood, or even your confidence and your self-worth is most urgent and important for you to invest yourself in matters of your fifth house? To me, this is saying that Scorpios might be in a place where you've been devaluing your need for joy, your need for time off, your need to invest into your own creative pleasure and pursuit, the creative process. There's something here where you're being asked, what can you cut out and eliminate or delegate when it comes to your creative work or your creative process so that more joy can come back? And that joy is actually a direct influencer and positive impact bringer to your second house of income, livelihood, resources, feeling supported to live the life that you want to live. If you're a Scorpio and you've been putting too much emphasis on one or the other, either on material security or on living your best life, having the most fun, then this Mars-Saturn square, it wants you to slow down and reconsider before you take that next step or you make any big final commitments and decisions that you've weighed the need and the balance of these two things in your life. And also, there could be some sort of covert resistance that you need to overcome through action. It might be procrastinating, taking time off. Maybe you've been saying, I just make a little bit more money, I just save a little bit more here, and then I can go let myself take a break, have a little bit of fun. Or you've been having all the fun and you're like, I'll get back to work soon. I'll get to that later. I can always take my finances serious next month. No, Scorpio, this Gemini full moon, it's going to help show you what you're putting off, what is necessary. It needs to be handled. You need to do the hard thing or the thing you don't want to do, the thing that's uncomfortable, because your long-term consequences depend on it. And a temporary sacrifice of discomfort is going to be well worth it into the future. And then you'll receive this clarity. A fog will finally lift as Neptune stations direct for the final time in Pisces in your fifth house. So romantic and creative illusions, they start to dissolve. You start to see clearly this area of life that lights you up and your feet are on the ground again, and maybe more confidence on how to expand that into your reality or bring it back in a way that feels more real or more realistic. Scorpio, that is your horoscope for this Gemini full moon. Let's go ahead and pull your tarot card. Okay, Scorpio, so you have the Two of Pentacles and the Three of Swords. I'm pretty sure you got the Three of Swords during our Taurus full moon horoscope video. So you still haven't let it go. You are still heartbroken or holding on to some sort of hurt or pain or ending. And we all need to feel our feelings. You need to let yourself feel that grief. And you also need to check in with yourself. Where is this holding this pain or this hurt? How is this heartbreak keeping you stuck in unhelpful indecision? He's stuck balancing, juggling these coins, so he never actually gets to spend either coin. He never gets to enjoy the fruits of that labor because he's too busy juggling in indecision or in trying to do too many things at once. It's this scattered sense of energy. So for me, Scorpio, I'm feeling like this is the moment where when you finally say, I'm ready to fully release, let it go, or let something come to an end, even if it's a little heartbreaking, like maybe one of these coins you've had a little bit of attachment to or a little bit of hope for. And I just want you to know this feels like it doesn't have to be like put that down and it'll never come to life or you never get to go back to it. Can you just make a decision on one right now? Can you let yourself let go of any pain? Can you let yourself invite more forgiveness, compassion, and closure to any hurt that your heart is still carrying? Also, I'm also getting the message that there might be an opportunity for you to ask for some help and heal some sort of past baggage around resourcing help and support from other people, like counting on other people. I don't know, Scorpio, I'm just getting this sense that it's not necessarily even that you have to put one down. Maybe you just have to let somebody else help you carry it. Maybe you have to delegate some of that work, some of that effort. And that requires the more vulnerable spaces of a healthy, high functioning exchange in your eighth house, which is where this full moon is happening. You can have healthy relationships. You can have healthy exchanges. It doesn't all have to be toxic just because it was in the past or just because you're learning and waking up to it in the present. You can bring those old things to an end. You can leave the past in the past, and you can trust yourself to go into a vulnerable space of exchange and intimacy, to open yourself to receive the help, the love, the connection from those eighth house, good, healthy relationships and partnerships. Okay, Scorpio, I want to hear from you. What resonated about that reading? Where are you at coming to this Gemini full moon? You've been having quite the birthday season with all these grand water trines and then that Mercury retrograde and the new moon with the Mercury Cazimi in your first house. Do you feel rebranded? Do you feel resurrected? I want to hear from my Scorpios. Leave in the comments below and tell me where you're at. And don't forget, also check out that link below this episode for our 2026 astrology event, Faultlines and New Frontiers. Registration is still open, and if you have any questions or you want to learn more, get more information about all the details of that event, you can check all that out in that link below this episode. Thank you, Scorpios. Let's go ahead. Let's get into our Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. Okay, Sagittarius, this full moon, it's shining this bright light of clarity. It's bringing you into making some big decisions in a revelation of relationship. You are receiving any kind of relationship patterns or commitments. The truth behind these becomes undeniable. This Gemini full moon is bringing full circle all of the deep work, the deep digging you've been doing behind the scenes in those blind spots, in our hidden self-undoing, self-sabotaging patterns of the 12th house, those hidden enemies. Hopefully Mercury's retrograde brought you some new clarity, brought you some light in those dark spaces, and that inner truth that's risen, that shadow work that's integrating, it's bringing you to this point of new relationship clarity, whether that's other people that you're in relationship with, seeing them clearly, or maybe it's seeing yourself more clearly in your relationships or in the barriers from being in the relationships that you desire. And Sagittarius, remember that you get one final series, one final draft of Mercury going into those grand water trines to go big on resourcing, anchoring your home, on your emotional root system, your foundation. This is the moment to ask yourself, how deep do you want to go? Don't forget, these water trines that we're experiencing right now that are super uncomfortable for my fire signs, I know it's in these spaces that's already watery and emotional on its own. And then it's a water trine. I mean, babe, I know it's uncomfortable. You don't want to pause and slow down and feel your feelings. But don't forget that all of these water trines right now, next year in 2026, Jupiter's going to enter into Leo and Saturn and Neptune are going to be in Aries. and this water becomes fire. We get fire trines in 2026 and 2027, and all that potential creativity, inspiration, new action, new opportunity, new idea creation, its potential depends and will reflect the amount of space and clearing you're capable of doing with these grand water trines. So Sag, I'm begging you, I'm double dog daring you, go a little bit deeper. Feel a little bit harder, rest a little bit longer. And then don't forget, you're gonna have a Saturn stop sign when Mars in Sagittarius, your first house, meets up with that exact square with Saturn and Pisces in your fourth house. This is asking you, before you make any big decisions, that you're really clear on what is urgent and what is important surrounding the relationship between your identity, your purpose, the direction your life is taking, and your home life. These must be realigned, they must be reconciled. And you also need to take note if there's any sort of space where you're putting something off. There's a clear sense of, I know the direction I want to go, I know what it is that I want, but I'm kind of delaying it, or I'm coming up with every excuse in the book of why not to do it or not do it yet. Sagittarius, this is your covert resistance opportunity, and it requires you to overcome through taking action. You have to move through the procrastination by taking that uncomfortable action. And don't forget, Sagittarius, this is the moment, especially with the first and fourth house being activated for you. It's so important to focus and name and align your actions with what is necessary for the long term, not what's comfortable or fun or even desired or pleasurable in this moment. And by the end of the Gemini full moon week, you're going to have Neptune stationing retrograde in Pisces for the final time in your fourth house. This is going to lift any sort of veil or fog that you've been swimming through, any sense of confusion and disillusion, or maybe even grief that's been surrounding matters of family, home, and foundation. Now you might start to notice some emotional clarity naturally settling back in, hopefully giving you a little bit more internal safety and security as we go forward. Sag, that's your horoscope for this Gemini full moon. I want to hear, how are you feeling? How are all of these things playing in for you? How are they showing up in your life? And also, is the big decision around a partnership, or is there a partnership that's bringing up the clarity, the reveal of whatever decisions you are making? Are you proposing? Would you say yes if somebody proposed to you? Sag, I need to know. All right, let's go ahead and pull your tarot card. Okay, Sagittarius, this is cute. You got the Lovers card and the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, this is making a decision about who you're saying yes to, what you're committing to, and what you're willing to have the patience to endure long term, to put in that slow and steady, take my time, there's no rush. Maybe that's the decision you need to make. Oh my God, Seth, maybe there's a decision, a clarity that this Gemini full moon's bringing, or there's something illuminating your reason for not deciding or your reason for staying stuck in indecision that's actually about needing to just say, well, once I'm ready to get over the fact that some things just take longer than others or go slower than others or might get boring at times in the process, once I let that go, I accept those terms of the agreement of my decisions and I commit, the decision becomes clear, the partnerships become clear. This is a very obvious full moon reading for you, Sagittarius. I want to hear in the comments, does this reading resonate for you? What's coming up for you at the time of this Gemini full moon in that 7th house? And also, don't forget, check out that link below for our 2026 astrology event, Faultlines and New Frontiers. We're going to go through all the drama, spill all the tea of what's coming up in the year ahead. I'm going to be joined by Alexandra Blair of 9 Lives Astrology and Whitney Kranz of Astro Arcana. We're going to have so much fun. We'd love to have you join us. Love to have you live if you can make it live. So if you're interested, inspired, please check out that link below. There's still time to register and we would love to have you. Thank you, Sagittarius. Let's go ahead and jump into Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Capricorns, this Gemini full moon, it is shining this bright light of clarity. It's bringing some illumination towards those big decisions you're ready to make that are on the table related to a revelation of rhythm. This is some sort of work and wellness pattern recognition. This is some sort of full circle clarity when it comes to your daily structures, systems, and schedules. The work that you put in day to day, your daily grind, the things that you say yes to and your obligations, your devotions, and also your relationship to taking care of your body. Your body is the system of your soul, your spirit, your life. So, where are you starting to see your relationship to these matters in new light? And how is the deep digging that Mercury's been doing in Scorpio in your 11th house related to the clarity that's coming? There's some sort of reprogramming, rewiring, maybe resurrecting that Mercury's been doing in that 11th house. There's something about your alliances, about your community or your networks, your big visions, your big wishes, your big hopes, these goals that you have for yourself and the team that you've got on board. Now that you see it clearly or you see it from a new vantage point, Mercury is giving you a whole new confidence when it comes to making decisions in these daily changes and these daily lifestyle work patterns and systems. So, Capricorn, what is that for you? I'm almost getting the sense that there's this opportunity of recognizing how you can actually lean on your support system of the 11th house to get through the 6th house struggles. Whether that's delegating tasks, it's collaborating with others, or maybe it's funding yourself, it's getting some sort of benefactor of support, some sort of encouragement, some true, authentic sense of belonging, and also camaraderie that gives you the energy, the motivation, so that those 6th house struggles or efforts, they don't feel so draining. They feel a hell of a lot more doable, and honestly, like you don't have to do it all alone. And Capricorn, remember, you get a third and final draft of Mercury going through those grand water trines in your relational areas of the chart and of your life. So there's a final wave, a final draft, a final opportunity for you to put yourself out there, to raise that standard, to raise a question, to receive help or support or alliance with the people in your world. And how is this inspired by and also supported through your radical new relationship with your personal pleasure? And Capricorns, you're going to need to hit that stop sign or pause button on the life remote when Mars in Sagittarius in your 12th house meets up to that square with Saturn in Pisces in your 3rd house. This is bringing some sort of stress test to your daily rhythms, your communication that Saturn's asking you to slow down and take seriously. You can allow this Gemini full moon to shine some light of clarity around what you decide, what is most important and urgent to attend to when it comes to what I communicate and what I don't, what I include in my day-to-day rhythm and what I don't. And that invitation to get really clear on aligning your actions with that pathway of what is most necessary, not what is most comfortable, familiar, or even pleasurable. This is about making that choice, Capricorn, to align yourself, your efforts, your communication, like what you actually need to say to somebody, not based off of what you're feeling about a situation, what you want to say or you would like them to hear, but more so about what your long-term plans, what the long-term consequences of what you say and what you do in your day-to-day are going to have in store for you. And also make sure, Capricorn, that you take that moment to notice where there might be any sort of covert resistance, where you might be delaying making that change or putting in effort, taking an action, a clear step forward, even though consciously you're so clear on what you want and where you're going. This Mars-Saturn is giving you a chance to sever the self-doubt that might be leading to any sort of procrastination, hesitation, or over-caution. It's time to bust down the barriers, babe. Cut through the obstacle by taking one small step in the right direction. And then finally, we have that Neptune stationing direct after a decade-long transit in Pisces in your 3rd house. Capricorn, you're finally going to start to feel like this mental fog lifts. It's been so long, you might not even remember what it was like to live in the mental space, the head space without Neptune. But get excited because after this full moon, by the end of this week, you're going to start to notice that clarity naturally come back online. And maybe things in your day-to-day feel a little less foggy, a little less confusing or disorienting, with a little bit more steady ground under your feet, and also a stronger intuitive compass that you get to take with you. Capricorn, that's your horoscope for this Gemini full moon. I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me, where are you at the time of this full moon? What are your big decisions? What area of life are they showing up for you? I want to hear in the comments. And let's go ahead, let's jump into your card reading. All right, Capricorn, the card that came out for you is the High Priestess, and it jumped out sideways. So I wouldn't call it upright and I wouldn't call it reverse. I would say that you're in some sort of phase of integration where there's been a deeper connection, a deeper inner knowing, or a deeper confidence in your inner knowing that you've been consulting, or maybe you've been consulting the oracle. If you didn't check out the previous episodes on this lunar cycle and the astrology that's unfolding, we talked a lot about that. So maybe go check that out too. I'm just really excited to see this for you, Capricorn, because it's so easy with Capricorns to get stuck in our logical, rational, material orientation of human reality and human life and decision making. But I hope that this is saying that this Gemini full moon, this Neptune station direct, and all these grand water trines and Mercury retrogrades, it's leading to this culmination point where you're ready to take action, to make decisions that don't need any scientific proof, that don't need evidence before they become a reality, or some sort of evidence from the past, some sort of logic, some sort of proof in the outcome that's going to happen. You're putting more faith and trust in your relationship with the oracle, with your guides, with your intuition, your higher self. Maybe this feels like a risk in so many ways, but it's also a tapping into a deeper superpower and kind of another way of accessing and activating that 11th house of good spirits and benefactors. Feels like there's like a spiritual benefactor resourcing. And I'm not even necessarily saying it's anything outside of yourself. It could be the benefactor of your own higher self, internal good spirit. But that voice that's come online a little stronger, or you've retrieved it from any sort of past conditioning that stepped it down or made it quiet or hard to hear, it is in the process of coming online. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it, keep practicing. And this Gemini full moon, this is the best opportunity to put this into action, to put your clarity and this inner knowing into action. Just one small step in the direction of these decisions and those big dreams that you're ready to say yes to. Capricorn, how is this resonating for you? What are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? Are you tapping into that confidence in your own inner intuitive boss and inner knowing? I need to know, Capricorns. Also, don't forget, Cap, we have the link below for that 2026 live event, Faultlines and New Frontiers. I'm going to be joined with Alexandra Blair and Whitney Kranz. It's going to be so fun, so good. And we're going to cover all the big, heavy-hitting, dramatic astrology for next year. So make sure to check that out. Get more information by clicking that link below and register for the event. Whether you can attend live or not, you're still going to get access to all the recordings, all the materials. All right, Capricorn, we love you. We thank you. I bless you. Let's go ahead and get to our next sign, Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Aquarius, this Gemini full moon is shining this bright light of clarity. You're reaching a climax of revelation around joy. This full moon is bringing some creative truth or romantic and desire, pleasure seeking, pleasure meeting, joy having to the surface. You might even be dancing through these decisions. You've been doing that deep, deep digging with Mercury's retrograde in Scorpio in your 10th house of career and work and public reputation or even leadership roles. So Aquarius, what have you been rewiring, reprogramming, rethinking, or maybe recovering from some sort of baggage in your past related to your work that's actually informing your confidence to make decisions? And there's some sort of connecting the dots between these career and work decisions that's related to matters of that 5th house. There's a new sense of connection and cohesion and relationship between your own personal need to have fun, your personal pleasure, what it is that lights you up, your creative joy, your creative genius. How are both of these things working together to give you a new deciding power, to give you a sense of confidence when you go into making any sort of big decisions that are on the table, that are coming up? And don't forget that you have that final draft of Mercury going through those grand water trines. And for you, this is going to be activating and uplifting, inspiring those workhouses of your life. So your house of livelihood, of work, of career, any of the opportunities that want to come to these areas of life or that you're trying to call in, this Gemini full moon is propping you up with a new deciding power, a new clarity on what to consider when you go into making those decisions. And then don't forget to take a full stop when you hit that red light with Mars squaring off to Saturn, activating this need to consider, to prioritize and clarify what is urgent and important in relationship to your material security, your financial health, livelihood, also your self-worth, and your big goals and dreams for the future. Your networks, your benefactors, the people that you are in alliance with and you collaborate with. What is it that you're needing to say? I can't do all things with all people. I can't be all things to all people. I have to choose and discern what is most important, most urgent right now. If I'm having this big hell yes to the big dream that includes my personal pleasure, that includes me having this faith and pursuing what lights me up, doing more of what actually brings me joy, then I need to be wise about where I invest my money. I invest my second house resource of my own talents, my own gifts, what I bring to the table, and also who I align myself with. So Aquarius, make sure you take that moment and also take that step back to check yourself. If you're feeling like I'm really clear on this big goal that I have, I see the future so clearly. This is what I want to call in. This is what I'm working towards. I'm pouring myself over in my work or in my daily grind. And yet I still notice I'm kind of procrastinating, taking that action on that one thing, or reaching out to that one person who might be able to help me, or putting myself out there in this new space or new way. Aquarius, that's the covert resistance that this Mars-Saturn square will help you see and overcome. But the only way to do it is if you actually put in the energy and the effort. So remember that your decision to take that small but mighty step to move through the resistance, to feel the self-doubt and do it anyways, this is your medicine. This is a chance to overcome that and to strengthen your capacity, your resiliency, and your self-confidence in knowing you have what it takes to take the actions to follow through and make those dreams a reality. All right, and then Aquarius, you're finally going to feel that fog lift with Neptune stationing direct in Pisces in your second house. When it comes to matters of your sense of self-worth, your sense of being resourced, your personal livelihood and material security, anything that might have just felt hard to grasp, it might have been falling through your fingertips or confusing and foggy. Don't worry, Aquarius. Your worth, resourcing, and financial is about to become a lot more clear. And hopefully Neptune is leaving you with the gift of adding to your bank account something a little bit deeper in meaning and personal meaning and value, and maybe even a spiritual value or connection. All right, Aquarius, let's go ahead. That's your horoscope. It's time to jump into your tarot card reading. All right, Aquarius, you got two cards. You have the Ace of Cups upright and the Hierophant. Ooh, we love. This is so cute. Oh my God, are you falling in love? Are you like meeting the person of your dreams? Or this could be an overflow of creative energy and abundance. And what a perfect match. This is so your Scorpio 10th house career path. You are like so clear in naming and following your own sense of rules and regulations when it comes to professional conduct or how you define success and what you have to do to attain it. This is echoing what we talked about in your horoscope, where the more that you connect these two things, the more that you infuse this emotional, creative, overflowing cup, the more you lean into connection or feeling good, following what lights you up, what brings you pleasure. This is going to help bring even more stability and structure and consistency into those workhouses and opportunities. So make sure love is on the agenda. Make sure that you are the boss of keeping your heart open and available for connection or for inspiration to show up and meet you. And also the Hierophant, I think of divine timing. I think about the fact that this is more about sitting in the seat of trusting ourselves, trusting our purpose, trusting our integrity, and our resolve to see something through that we care about. If there's something you really care about, but it feels like it's taking forever, and you might be making up some sort of story that means it's just never going to happen. So I'm almost wondering if this Gemini full moon, it might be bringing some sort of clarity that helps open yourself back up to some sort of state of receptivity where you tap into this trust of the timing of whatever it is that you're calling in, and you're tapping into stabilizing, securing inside yourself this feeling of more than enough. Whether that's more than enough material security or maybe emotional security. If the thing that you want, that you're seeking, that you're calling in isn't here yet, the way that you attract it, the way that you speed up that process of getting closer to it is by sitting in the energy, holding the sensation as if it were already here. So keep filling your own cup. Keep trusting yourself, your purpose, honoring your boundaries, own your authority. You can own your authority and keep your heart open at the same time. And I hope you take that with you into any big decisions that are coming in. It doesn't have to be an either or mindset. It's a both and Aquarius. And I love that for you. I need to know, how are my Aquarius doing? What's coming up for you at the time of this full moon? Are big things happening in your career? Are you feeling like there's finally a space for you to maybe bring more of your creativity into your work life, or maybe put more fun on your agenda? I need to hear from you. Comment below. And don't forget, check out, we've got that 2026 astrology event coming up with astrologers Alexandra Blair and Whitney Kranz. It's going to be linked below this episode. Faultlines and New Frontiers. You won't want to miss it, Aquarius, because we start getting those North Node eclipses in Aquarius in your sign right away in February. So the drama is coming to you, babes. Don't be afraid. Just be informed, be prepared by joining us in our event. All right, Aquarius, thank you so much. I hope to see you at our 2026 Faultlines and New Frontiers. And this brings us into our final horoscope of this episode, Pisces and Pisces rising. Okay, Pisces and Pisces rising. This Gemini full moon, it is shining this bright light of clarity. It's giving you a revelation of the root. This is happening in your fourth house, which means that you're getting clarity at the time of this full moon around maybe some big decisions that are coming full circle regarding home, family, and emotional foundations. All of these things are really coming into focus at the time of the Gemini full moon. And you may understand a long-standing pattern or redefined what safety actually feels like, especially after doing all of that deep digging with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio in your ninth house. There's been a revelation, a rediscovery, a reprogramming, or maybe a resurrection of something from the past around your beliefs, your worldviews, what you assign meaning, your long-term plans for the future, your sense of destiny or calling, and your commitment to follow through on that. And all of this clarity from Mercury retrograde, it's coming into this fruition or this climax point at the Gemini full moon, where it's not just about what home or safety or internal security feels like. It's regridding, rerouting, redefining those things, or making and orienting your decisions around home in connection to where you want to go. So the distance that you're now claiming, this is the distance I want to travel. I'm claiming these long-term plans. I'm claiming this calling. That means that the way that I anchor in safety and security in myself, I'm ready to make big decisions, clear decisions on all of those topics. And for you, Pisces, this means that you get the final grand water trine, the third and final draft of Mercury going into the grand water trine series right after this Gemini full moon. And this has been happening in the houses that have to do with dharma, purpose, life direction, and yourself. So what is it, Pisces, that you're ready to catch and carry this final wave forward in a much more clear direction? You're ready for the bigger yes. And that bigger yes has to do with you saying yes to yourself, to the belief in yourself, your purpose, and your calling. And Pisces, don't forget that after the Gemini full moon, there's going to be this invitation to take a full pause. Make sure you stop all the way through this stop sign when Mars in Sagittarius squares Saturn in Pisces, activating this confrontation point between your career, your vocation, maybe any leadership roles out in the public sphere, and yourself, your sense of self-confidence, your self-care. This is asking you to get really, really honest and clear about what is most important and most urgent when it comes to decisions and commitments that you're making in regards to career. Are you prioritizing your self-care? Are the things that you want to say yes to or grow into in the direction of your career, do they leave space for the urgent and important self-care priorities? And vice versa. Is there an exciting, important, and urgent career path change or decision that you're going to step into? And does that match the self-care strategies that you have in place? Does it match the way that you show up? Maybe even what you're wearing when you introduce yourself. How are you wearing your confidence? How are you wearing yourself as you enter the room in these career opportunities or decisions and changes? And remember, it could also be not about prioritizing urgent and important, but it could come in as this opportunity to name, claim, and move through, overcome that covert resistance inside. So that Saturn self-doubt that might be showing up, are you actually the person who's capable of taking on that big role? Are you the person who can handle the responsibility? This is the moment if you're having this clear desire, clear goal, clear aim, but you're having some hesitation, procrastination, or that sense of inner conflict where you're not actually in action that's moving you towards those goals or that clarity, then Pisces, this is your chance. You get to overcome, you get to conquer by directly facing it head on and doing the hard, uncomfortable thing. Doing what's necessary right now, not necessarily what's comfortable, is going to set you up so much better for the long term. Remember, we're thinking Saturn, long-term reward. So Pisces, what is like one small step that you can take, one action that is aligned in the direction of the dreams that you claim, the career, the leadership, the responsibility, that you're having this sense, I really, really want it. I'm really, really clear. This is your chance with that Mars square Saturn. You get to bust down the barriers on the inside, babe. And then Pisces, finally, you're going to get a break. You're going to get relief from the fog of the Neptune transit that's been going through your first house for the last 13 years. When Neptune stations direct, you're going to start to notice that there's an identity fog that starts to lift and clear. And this is going to reveal your most authentic self. Neptune has been dissolving any false masks or personas. And this is the moment where you're finally done going through the Neptune process of coming back to what has true meaning, coming back to a little bit more soul in the way that you show up. And now it's going to feel clear. You get the ground beneath your feet, and you might feel a little bit more confident and grounded to start taking those actions as this new, authentic, clear self. So that's your horoscope, Pisces rising. Comment below and tell me. I want to hear a little check-in. How are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? We have those eclipses happening in your first and seventh house. So this is a very personal eclipse cycle for you. And if you remember at the beginning, we talked about how this Gemini full moon is activating that nodal bending, that midpoint between the north node and south node, reactivating the themes of major beginnings and major endings in this eclipse cycle. So I'm curious, I want to hear from my Pisces. Does it feel like you're reaching a turning point? Does it feel like the things that have been kind of confusing or moving really fast that you can't even really grasp them during those eclipse changes? Now you're kind of seeing, okay, yes, this is what's happening. Maybe a little bit of integration. Or maybe you're just not. You're still totally disoriented. We'll have to check in after Neptune stations direct. Comment below, please, Pisces. I want to hear from you. All right, let's go ahead and do your tarot card reading for this full moon. Okay, Pisces, your card today for this Gemini full moon is the Knight of Swords upright. This is the card of somebody who is in decisive, swift action. This is using your linear, logical, rational mind to make quick decisions and pivot and take action immediately following those decisions. So this knight is fearless. It's confidence in your decisions, trusting and kind of clearing the path with this mental agility, this ability to just see through the bullshit. For me, this is tying in all the things of the major eclipse cycles and the North Node in your first house, those 10th house activations, and then also with that Mercury retrograde in your 9th house. This feels like now you're not only clear on the path and the purpose and the calling, you have the beliefs to back you up and take that action. You're going to get some momentum. You're ready to go and forge the path. You're going to cut through all of the inner obstacles, maybe all of those covert resistance mechanisms of the old fears trying to protect you. And there's a lot of momentum. The only thing to be mindful of when I see this card, Pisces, is make sure, remember, this full moon's happening in your 4th house. This is our resting space. This is the place where we call home, which means we come home back into this place, both within ourselves and in our physical environment. And every time we leave this space. So make sure you're coming back to center. You're coming back to that sense of home, and you're getting a clear sense of how to get back there so that you don't just get lost, burnt out, moving forward, getting this momentum. There might be a lot of things happening really fast, a lot of really important conversations that suddenly push you forward into new action or new direction, new trajectories. Just make sure this Gemini full moon needs you to decide and be very clear. What is my resting space? What is my center? And what is my strategy for making sure that I can move back to that space in and out fluidly, like a Pisces rising knows how. All right, Pisces, I need to hear from you. What resonated about this reading? How are you feeling at the time of this Gemini full moon? And which part of the horoscope or some of the transits happening right now really stand out the most? What's the most alive for you? And don't forget, you can check out that link below for our 2026 astrology event. We're going to go over all the things, all dramatic astrology of 2026, but we're going to do it in a very grounded way. We're going to go over the themes of every single month, including the standout transits. And then we have that companion digital workbook. And this is going to have actual practices, rituals, tools, techniques set up with the timeline and all of the transits that are included in that workbook to help you navigate the dramatic astrology, these big changes that are coming next year. So it's not too late to register. Click the link below this episode and learn more or register now. And that brings us to the conclusion of our Gemini full moon horoscope episode. If that Scorpio new moon conjunct Mercury retrograde was like dropping an anchor deeper within ourselves, activating this deep, deep clarity, it's almost as if now in the waters of our travels, this Gemini full moon, it's shining this lighthouse. It's giving us this direction. It's giving us a clear sense of how to make these important decisions, or maybe even the timing of when we're going to make them. So I'm looking forward to see what happens around the bend after this Gemini full moon, rounding out this Scorpio lunar cycle. There's not a lot of big things happening. We have Mercury retracing the steps of that previous retrograde and leaving shadow officially before the end of the cycle. And the cycle ends, it punctuates with that Sun in Sagittarius square Saturn in Pisces. And to me, this actually brings back full circle those themes of the sun moving through those grand water trines, astrological kites of coherence. Now Saturn is putting us up to the test. It is saying, okay, the dust has settled from all of the Gemini full moon decisions, change of plans, or transitions. And now you have to put it to the test. You have to show up and own it. And remember, when we meet Saturn, move through that resistance, move through that self-doubt, do the hard thing. Those choices, those consequences, we are the ones that are rewarded in the long run. So we'll go into all the nitty-gritty of that astrology in next week's episode. If you haven't already, make sure that you like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on. That way you'll never miss a new episode when it comes out. And I hope to see everybody in our 2026 Faultlines and New Frontiers live event this December. It's going to be so fun, and it's going to be even more fun with the more of you that can join us. My name is Sarah Posh, astrologer and coach, and I will see all of you next week on Cozy with the Cosmos.